bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around, show me love.
Come, all are welcome here.
Bring your calm and your chaos.
You're quiet. And you're shouting.
Your celebration and your struggle.
Your strength and your flaws.
Your whole, wonderful, complicated selves. Just as God made you.
It's all worship.
Let's hear God sing.
Together.
Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God. Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the ends of the earth. He never wearies or tires, he never slumbers or sleeps. The Lord is the everlasting God. Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God. Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the ends of the earth. He never wearies or tires, he never slumbers or sleeps. The Lord is the everlasting God. Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God. Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the ends of the earth. He never wearies or tires, he never slumbers or sleeps. The Lord is the everlasting God. Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God. Don't you know, haven't you heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the ends of the earth. He never wearies or tires, he never slumbers or sleeps. The Lord is the everlasting God. The Lord is the everlasting God. The Lord is the everlasting God.
We thought as we gathered together to celebrate Zephaniah's 27th birthday and thank God for those 27 years, it would be good to think about hope and all that that means. And one of the things that's really important to us here at ZephFamily is believing that we can all learn from each other. Whatever our age, whatever our life experience, we can learn things about the world and about God together and from one another. So we asked some of you to send in what you know and think about hope, and we've gathered together your answers. So let's open our hearts and our minds and see what we have to learn from one another now.
It's been too long a winter, dark clouds hang in the freezing air, grey is the colour of this heart.
What does hope feel like? Hope feels like it's light and bright, and you're looking forward with joy and expectation. It feels bouncy.
To me, hope feels like knowing that it can get better, even when it doesn't feel like it will, it's going to get better.
Hope feels like the security that you are loved and you are cared about. And however difficult things are, however bad things get, you never have to go through them on your own. And even if things are difficult, you will get through it because you are cared about.
For me, hope is that little spark inside you. It's the spark that warms you, that makes you feel everything is going to be okay. It's like the first sip of a nice cup of tea after you've got in on a cold day, or first gulp of hot chocolate, or sip of that wee dram, that little thing that just gets inside you, warms you up. A little spark that starts to burn inside and makes you feel that everything is just going to be okay.
Hope is something you want to happen.
Hope feels like it's possible. It can happen. It's not out there beyond the realms of possibility, but actually it is possible. It's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's what hope feels like to me, I think.
I would describe hope as a fabulous little stepping stone towards faith in something. So you hope something will happen, and then you start to believe something will happen, and then you kind of really do think things will be okay. So that's all it is to me. It's a brilliant little stepping stone.
No sign of spring flowers, colors are hiding, they just don't dare. Too long a winter everywhere.
What's given me hope in the last year? Climbing a virtual Ben Nevis in April. Regular quiz night on Zoom with friends. Friends and family picnics in the open air, of course. Seeing snowdrops peeping through the snow. Meeting up with colleagues round the world to pray, and having my COVID jab.
This last year I've felt hope from knowing that even in the dark times, God is always the light of hope that is helping you get through this time, and that it will get better.
In the last year, what's given me hope is seeing how many people really want to help each other. Whether that's giving up their time and doing things, or doing things to bring people like a little bit of happiness, like when people like paint rocks and things and leave them around just to cheer up someone's day. Just the fact that it's part of us that we seem to want to help other people in whatever way we can, however big or small. So that gives me a lot of hope. I think there's a lot of good in the world. I think there always will be.
Things that give me hope are hearing good news, just any good news, just no matter how big or small. When I hear good news, I just feel just a sense of lightness and relief of things are gonna be okay. And also to see the seasons changing, because especially last year I found a real comfort in seeing the seasons change, because it was sort of like nature didn't know anything else was going on, or there was a pandemic. Nature just carried on as normal, and that constant nature being so constant really gave me hope.
I think there's a couple of things that have given me hope over the last year. One, the fact that although we've not been able to get together, to meet physically in the same ways that we have done, is that we've found ways to continue being community. We've found ways to continue supporting each other, being there for each other, and enjoying each other's company, even if we're not literally in the same room together. The second thing is, over the past year, I've probably spent a lot more time out walking and wandering, and I've seen a lot more wildlife around, sparrowhawks, red kites, buzzards, owls, deer, lots of other little birds. And I think the past year has actually been good for the environment. And it just gives me hope that actually we can find a new way, a different way, a better way of doing things, because it's shown that we can.
What's something that's given you hope this year?
Birthday.
Your birthday. Something that's given me a lot of hope this year is receiving the COVID vaccination. It makes me feel very positive for our future.
I think one of the things that's really given me hope in this last year is seeing just how many people have come together to help out, to do things, to come together as community, as neighbours, to look out for one another, not just be looking out for themselves, but coming together, seeing how can I help my neighbour, actually getting to know their neighbours better. What can I do for those around me, those who are struggling a lot more than I am? There's been so much of that, and that has really given me a lot of hope in this last year.
Of all things to bring hope this year, what's done it for us is this, our trampoline. The children have been battling with each other, they are fed up, they are stuck in. Along came the trampoline and they are playing together again. And that is a little bit of recovery in this house, and that's brought hope.
But the light's still shining. Oh, let it shine on me. The light's still shining. However dark it seems, oh, the light's still shining. Lord, let it shine on me. Let it shine. Let it shine.
God shall supply all my needs. My God shall supply all my needs. 'Cause it says so in the Bible. Because it says so in the book that came from heaven. Yes, it says so. Isaiah 58:11. My God shall supply all my needs, 'cause it says so in the Bible. My God shall supply all my needs. My God shall supply all my needs. My God shall supply all my needs, 'cause it says so in the Bible. Because it says so in the book that came from heaven. Yes, it says so. Isaiah 58:11. My God shall supply all my needs, 'cause it says so in the Bible. My God shall supply all my needs. My God shall supply all my needs. My God shall supply all my needs, 'cause it says so in the Bible. Because it says so where? In the book that came from heaven. Yes, it says so. Isaiah 58:11. My God shall supply all my needs, 'cause it says so in the Bible. My God shall supply all my needs. My God shall supply all my needs. My God shall supply all my needs, 'cause it says so in the Bible. Because it says so where? In the book that came from heaven. Yes, it says so where? Isaiah 58:11. My God shall supply all my needs, 'cause it says so in the
So, we've heard a little bit from some of our friends about hope and what hope means to them and what has given them hope. And I thought it might be a good idea to find out what the Bible maybe could teach us about hope. So, I'm going to share a Bible story with you now. This story takes place in the Bible after Jesus has died and come back to life and gone back to be with God in heaven. And one of the things Jesus says to his friends before he goes back up to heaven with God is he tells them he wants them to carry on with his work and carry on doing all the things he's taught them and telling people about him and about how God wants us to love one another. And he also made them a promise. He said, I will be with you always, to the end of the age. You are not alone. I am with you. And I wonder if this story maybe helps us to think about how that was a source of hope for Jesus' friends and how it can be a source of hope for us today. This is a story about something that happened to Peter, if you remember Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends. You see, after Jesus went back up to heaven to be with God, his friends did what he asked them, and they carried out his work. They travelled around telling people about him, healing people, doing miracles, telling stories, all the things Jesus had taught them. And because they were doing that, more and more people learned about Jesus, heard about who he was and what he'd done, and they believed in him. Now, not everybody was happy with what they were doing and saying. Some people were very concerned that these new ways of thinking, these new things to believe, might cause some trouble. So, Herod, we've come across a Herod before, haven't we? This one I don't think is the same one, but also not a very nice king. He decides he's going to do something about Jesus' friends and all the things they've been saying and doing. And he has one of them arrested and then killed with a sword. Now, the other people who are really worried about Jesus' friends and their activities, they really like this when Herod has one of them killed. So Herod decides, because this has made him quite popular, he decides he's going to do it again. And he has Peter, Jesus' friend Peter, one of his best friends Peter, is arrested by King Herod. After he's arrested him, Herod puts him in prison with a team of 16 soldiers to guard him. That's how dangerous a prisoner Herod thinks Peter is. He really does not want him to escape, so he puts 16 soldiers on him to guard him, and he's in prison. Herod is going to hold him there until the day before the Passover, when he's going to put Peter on trial and sentence him to death. Now, Peter is in prison with 16 soldiers guarding him. What do his friends do? The people who are part of his church? Well, the Bible tells us that all of Peter's friends were praying for him. They gathered together and they were praying for Peter the whole time he was in prison, asking God to be with Peter and to help him. The night before the trial comes, Peter is sleeping. Just let that sink in for a minute. The night before his trial, when he's probably going to be sentenced to death, Peter is sleeping. I don't think I'd be sleeping in those circumstances. I think I'd be awake panicking. Peter is sleeping. That tells us something, doesn't it? He must have been feeling some peace inside him to be able to sleep. Maybe a bit of hope that God was with him. Or maybe he was just really tired. But he is sleeping. Now he's sleeping chained up between two guards. There are chains round his hands attaching him to two soldiers, and there are more soldiers on the door of his prison cell. Peter is fast asleep. It is the middle of the night. Suddenly, his prison cell fills with the brightest of lights, and there is an angel. Now, we know about angels, don't we? We know about angels from the Christmas story and other Bible stories, and we know when they appear and they fill the night sky with light, people usually notice them. Not Peter. He just carries on snoring. Now, there are many things I love about this story. This moment, this next moment is one of them. The angel, I can only assume, is annoyed that Peter doesn't notice him. I mean, if I was an angel and I was used to people noticing me when I appeared in my light, I'd be frustrated too. So he wakes Peter up, but he doesn't kind of gently shake him awake or whisper in his ear, Peter, wake up. Do you know what he does? It says in the Bible, he touches Peter in the side and says, oi, get up. He whacks him. Get up, Peter, wake up. You need to wake up now. I love it, an angel that gives you a smack to wake you up. Peter kind of wakes up, but he's a bit drowsy. You know what it's like when someone wakes you up when you're in the middle of sleeping. And at this point in the story, I like to imagine it as being very like a morning when the grown-ups are trying to get the kids up in time to go out to school and not be late. And that is kind of what I imagine starts to happen now, because Peter's sort of half awake. Oh, he's looking around, he's not sure what's going on. And the angel looks at him and says, you gonna get dressed? Clothes, come on. We're running late. Get your clothes on. Peter gets dressed. The angel kind of keeps looking at him. Peter looks back at the angel, not really sure what's going on. The angel says, Peter, we're going outside. Shoes? Now, the Bible doesn't tell us at that point whether Peter has somehow managed to put one of his sandals in a perfectly sensible place, but the other one is missing because he's put it somewhere ridiculous, like in the fridge, and no one can remember where it is. I can only assume that is something similar to what happened if it was indeed like getting ready for school in the morning. But the angel looks at Peter and goes, Peter, sandals. Peter puts his shoes on. And then the angel's kind of looking him up and down. Peter looks back at the angel. Peter, it's the middle of the night. We're going outside. It'll be cold. Coat? Again, the Bible does not tell us whether at this point the angel and Peter engage in a 5-minute debate about whether it really is cold enough to need the coat or whether Peter would rather leave it at home, but the angel insists he probably should wear it to keep himself from catching a cold. And in the end they come to some kind of compromise where the angel allows him to tie it around his waist so he can put it on if he really needs it, and as soon as he gets outside he puts it on anyway. I don't know whether that conversation happened, but he tells Peter to put on his coat. We do know, because the Bible does tell us, and I forgot to say, when Peter woke up, those chains on his hands fell off. So God has sent an angel to Peter in prison. The angel has freed Peter from his chains and got him ready to escape. Got him dressed with his shoes on and his coat. Next thing the angel does is just walk Peter out of prison. That's crazy, isn't it? It doesn't seem like a very exciting rescue, but it's a pretty quiet one, so no one notices them, because they just miraculously walk past the first set of guards, and then the second set of guards, and they walk past every pair of guards until they've got out of the prison and down the street into the town. Now, up until this point, Peter isn't really sure what's going on. He's not quite sure whether he's woken up and this is real, or whether he's having some kind of dream or a vision sent from God. But when they reach the end of the street, the angel disappears. Now, it could be the cold night air, but Peter wakes up all of a sudden. He looks around him and he realises this is true. It's really happening. God has sent an angel to save him from prison and death. Peter, of course, goes straight to the house where he knows his friends will be praying for him. Remember, his friends have been praying in hope to God to protect Peter the whole time. So Peter goes to the house where they are in the town and he knocks on the door. Remember, it's the middle of the night, but his friends are awake and praying for him. The servant girl, Rhoda, she goes to answer the door. And because it's the middle of the night, and because they're in there praying, and Christians have been getting arrested, she's probably quite cautious about it. She goes up to the door and she goes, "Who is it?" And Peter goes, "It's me, Peter." And Rhoda is so excited to hear Peter's voice. She's so excited and happy that he is freed from prison that she runs into the other room to tell his praying friends, and she forgets to open the door and let him in. She goes into them. She says, "You'll never guess who's at the door. It's Peter." And his friends, who are praying to God to help Peter in the hope that God will help him, look at her and say, "It can't be Peter, can it? He's in prison. You're mad. How could he be at the front door?" But Rhoda insists. She tells them, no, it is Peter. They have to go and look. And they go to the front door. They open it. And there is Peter on the doorstep. His friends are thrilled that God has rescued him from prison. He tells them the story about the angel. And they keep him safe and help him to escape the city so that he can't be arrested again. Lots of interesting things in that story, aren't there? Peter sleeping peacefully the night before his trial. Why is that? Is it because he hopes that God will rescue him? His friends who are praying for him, and then, even though they're asking God to help him, don't really believe the help has come when it has. They say to Rhoda, "Don't be mad. Peter can't be on the doorstep. He's in prison." Even though they're asking God to help him, they don't quite believe that it will happen. Where's the hope in that? Isn't it interesting that if we hope for something, we don't have to fully believe in it for God to answer our prayers? Lots to think about. And Julia's going to be here in a minute with a craft for you to do. And whilst you're doing the craft, I wonder if maybe you could have a chat with whoever you're with, or have a think if you're on your own, about some of the questions that we're thinking about today. What does hope feel like? What has brought you hope maybe in the last year? Is it possible that we can both be hopeful that God will help us, but also not really believe that it's going to happen all at the same time? Which character in the story did you like best? What were your favourite bits? If you were in the story, who do you think you would be? Sometimes I think I'd be like Rhoda and be so excited about something amazing happening that I'd forget to open the door. But other times I think maybe I'd be like Peter's friends and not really believe that the good thing was happening in the first place. Who would you be? Lots to think about. Have a think about those questions, have a chat about them whilst you're doing Julia's craft. And I'll see you later for some more singing.
Hello, Julia here. So we're on to the craftsy section of today. So we've been thinking about hope, and one of the best things about hope is that you can share it. So we're going to make something that you can give to someone who maybe you can give it to someone you miss, or you can give it to someone who you just think could do with a bit of encouragement at the moment, a bit of love. So I'm going to show you how to make a really simple but a really effective pop-up card. So for this, you will need some card. If you haven't got card, paper is okay as well. You will need scissors, a glue stick, and some coloured pens or pencils. So to begin with, you need to take your card or paper and fold it in half, like so. So it's got a good crease. You need to go to about the middle of the card in the fold, and you need to draw 2 lines. You can do this in pencil, but I'm going to do it in pen so you can see it. You need to draw them in the middle about 1 inch apart, so about 2.5 centimetres apart. And they need to go into the card again about 1 inch. so 2.5 centimetres. So something like that. Oh, it's not quite the middle, but it will do. Once you have drawn those lines, you need to get your scissors and chop along them. If you're not used to scissors, get your grown-up to help you with it. So there you go, I've cut down these 2 lines. And then open it up, and we're going to push it so that the crease that is in the middle of it, we want it to go the other way. So I'll push it through or pull it like this. Not too hard because you don't want to rip it. Close it back up a little bit, and where it meets the rest of the card, you're going to fold it on both sides. Basically, when you close it, you need to make a crease. You see? And so then when you open it up again, it'll be like a cube, like that. And that is basically the mechanism for your pop-up card. Because what we're going to do is, so it's closed like that, closes flat, it opens up, you're going to stick your own design there, and it will be a pop-up card. Now, I told you that it was simple and yet effective, and that is because you can now make anything in the world pop up from this card. You could make 19 kittens appear from out of nowhere. You could make a 3-tiered cake, a castle, an ice rink, an egg salad, anything you want in the world. The power is in your hands and soon to be in your card. Ooh. So anyway, to do your design, you need another piece of card if you are using card, or another piece of paper if you are using paper. It doesn't have to be the same colour. In fact, it's good if it is a light colour, either white or a light colour. Now you want it so that it will fit inside your card and not poke out once you have closed it up. So to do this, I've found that if you use a quarter of a page, that is very good. So to get your quarter, fold it in half, like so. Fold it in half again, like this, so it is in quarters. Unfold it, and then one of these squares is what you have got to do your design in. So do it landscape that way, so it won't pop out of your card. And then you have just got to pick what you want to design for the person you are giving your pop-up card to. So we've been thinking about hope. So a good thing that you could design is what hope looks like to you, or what makes you hopeful, or what makes you think of hope. So you could have a ray of sunshine. That could be your hopeful thing. You could have a big hug to give to someone. That would be a nice thing to put in the card. You could have a big love heart. You could put in a little message such as you can't wait to see them again, things like that. Otherwise, you could think of the kind of things that you are looking forward to doing together, or things that you love to do together, like roller skating or whatever you do. Or you can personalise it as well. You can think about the person that you are wanting to give it to, maybe put in their favourite animal. Or my little sister loves a lovely warming cup of tea. You could do something like that. One of my mum's favourite things, I like to think, is me. So if I was making my mum a card, I might do something like this. I think she would love it. So once you have thought of the perfect design to give to your person, such as a lovely cake, can't really go wrong with cake. That is a lovely thing that brings people hope and joy, I think, if you think of them enough to give them a lovely cupcake. Once you've got your design, you need to cut it out. And again, get help with the cutting if you're not used to scissors. Now you don't need to do it right up to the edges, which especially helps depending on your picture. If it's got lots of fiddly lines, it might be best just to leave a little gap kind of around the edges. A little bit like this. Once you have got your design to stick on, this is where you need your glue stick. Where is my glue? Oh, it's here. Now it's easiest to put the glue on the design rather than try and fiddle about putting it on the cube. So put a little dab near the bottom where it's going to actually stick on to the pop-up mechanism. Lovely. And then to push it on, you can put one of your fingers into the gap at the back. There we go. And then press that on, stick it on firmly. And there you have it. So we'll close this up. A normal card. Open it up. Ta-da! Pop-up cupcake. Now the rest of the card around it is where you can write your message to the person that you are sending your card to. And there you have it. If you want to do some more decorating, there's the front and back as well. So go ahead, design your own beautiful pop-up card to give to whoever you want to, and just bring them a little bit of hope that someone is thinking about them enough to send them a lovely card.
You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. Show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. Show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. I'm gonna sing it out, shout it out, till the whole world knows Jesus lives inside of me from my head down to my toes. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. Show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. I'm gonna sing it out, shout it out, till the whole world knows Jesus lives inside of me from my head down to my toes. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. Show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. You give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. You give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. As you know, probably, I'm a Bradford City supporter. Yeah. I always hope that it'll get better. Beginning of every season, I hope it'll be a better season. You know, they look a bit promising in the beginning of the season, and it'll get better. It will. And I always hope before every game that they're going to play well, and I hope they're going to win. And at the moment, I'm just hoping that I'll be able to go see them play again. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I feel proper let down. Do you know? When Jesus promises, he keeps his promises. When he says, let's go up the other side of the lake, you're going to get to the other side of the lake. However rough it gets in the middle, do you know, he's not going to let you down. People came to see him because they wanted fixing. People that couldn't see, people that couldn't walk, you know, they came through the roof even.
and he didn't let them down. I'm putting my hope in Jesus, because I know he's never going to let me down.
Hiya. So, got a prayer activity that you can be doing yourselves at home, joining with your family, however many of you like, but it's one that's really simple, but it's a lovely way to help us focus our thoughts and our prayers. I've actually got two activities for you actually. So the first one, you'll need some squares of paper. Now if you don't have squares of paper that are already just squares, then obviously get yourself some paper and cut it to a square. But squares of paper is what you want. And what I'd like you to do with your squares of paper is to think about what your hopes are. Okay, what are your hopes for this year? And when you've thought of your hopes, and maybe it's really big hopes for the world, maybe it's hopes for our country, maybe it's hopes closer to home, and it's hopes for your family, for your friends, or maybe it's just hopes for you personally. But think of some hopes and write them on your square of paper. Okay, so I'm going to write one of my big hopes, which I think is probably a hope for a lot of people right now, is that that we come out of lockdown and life can get back to normal. All right, so that's one of my hopes. I'm going to pop that to one side. I also hope that I can see my friends and my family soon, because there are lots of my friends and certainly lots of my family that I've not been able to see for ages because we can't meet up with one another. So I hope for that, and I hope that the vaccines make a difference. So I'm going to go with those three hopes for now. Okay, I've got my three hopes. You can write as many as you want. Got a few pieces of paper there all stuck to one another. When you've got your hopes written on your square of paper, and if you don't want to write them, you can always draw them. Draw something that represents your hopes. But once you've got them on your piece of paper, you then need to take the corners of your piece of paper and you need to fold them into the middle like that. Now it doesn't matter if they're not quite equal, not exactly. You can see mine there are not all exact, but fold them so you've got all four corners going into the middle. I've got that one and that one, all four corners folded into the middle, so it's kind of hiding the hopes. You can't see them once you folded your corners in, but fold them in, last one, there we go. So there's my three hopes. Then you need some sort of a bowl. Now it can be a big bowl or a small bowl, it could be a baking tray, it doesn't really matter, but some sort of a bowl. And then into that bowl you need to pour some water, nice and carefully, because we don't want it going everywhere, obviously. And then I'm going to take my hopes that I have folded up, okay, three hopes, and I'm just going to place them in the bowl on the water so that the flaps that I folded down, so that they're facing upwards. I just place them on, 1, 2, 3, and then just watch as those hopes unfold. And as they do, you can make that your prayer of hope. And you can just sit and watch. It's quite relaxing actually, as you watch them unfold like that. So that's one prayer activity for you. The second one, you will need a piece of plain paper. Okay, and on that piece of plain paper, I would like you to draw a hot air balloon. Okay, so I'm just gonna very quickly here draw a hot air balloon. You obviously can take a lot more time than I'm doing. Like that, and then, oh gosh, okay, let's go up. Oops, wobbled right at the top there. Okay, so there's my hot air balloon with a funny wobble at the top. And then in your hot air balloon, okay, obviously you can colour it in and make it look absolutely amazingly beautiful. Lots of different colours if you like in your balloon. You could even maybe put a couple of people in the basket if you wanted to. But again, in your hot air balloon, sometimes it might feel that we're really small, and you know what can we do? What's the point even of having big hopes and dreams, because we're just, well, you know, I'm just me. But even just me, my hopes, my dreams, they matter to God. They really matter to God. So I can dream and I can hope as big as I want, because I know that God has got massive, massive hopes and plans for me and for my life. So I'm going to go ahead and have some big hopes too. And in your hot air balloon, you can write a really big hope that you've got, a really big hope. And again, it might be a really big hope for you personally. It might be a really big hope for your family. Maybe it's a big hope for the country. Maybe it's a big hope for the world. But write your big, big hope in your hot air balloon, right there in the middle. And then colour it in and make it look amazingly beautiful. And then maybe stick it up somewhere in your room to remind yourself, this is your hope, this is your prayer, that this can happen. Remembering that the prayers that we offer, well, we offer them to a God who can make all sorts of impossible things possible. I'm going to leave the rest up to you. Happy hoping and happy praying.
The love of Jesus is so wonderful. The love of Jesus is so wonderful. The love of Jesus is so wonderful. Oh, wonderful love. So high, you can't get over it. So low, you can't get under it. So wide, you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love. The love of Jesus is so wonderful. The love of Jesus is so wonderful. The love of Jesus is so wonderful. Oh, wonderful love. So high, you can't get over it. So low, you can't get under it. So wide, you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love. So high, you can't get over it. So low, you can't get under it. So wide, you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love. Oh yes, it's so high, you can't get over it. So low, you can't get under it. So wide, you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love. The love of Jesus is so wonderful. The love of Jesus Jesus is so wonderful. The love of Jesus is so wonderful. Oh, wonderful love. So high, you can't get over it. So low, you can't get under it. So wide, you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love.
May the God of hope
fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him,
so that you may overflow with hope.
By the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen.
You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. Show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and over.